Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm not sure where everybody's dialing in from, but if this is your first session of today, welcome. If you're coming over from one of the prior sessions, thank you for sticking with it. Great to be joined by the team from Aiera today, joined by Gavin and Brian, Chairman, COO, and CTO respectively. Folks, great to meet you. Great to have you both on the call with us. My name's Dan Thomas. I'm head of product strategy here at Third Bridge. Delighted to be kicking off the fourth and final session of the day. And for the next 25 minutes or so, we're going to be focused on our partnership with Aiera. The pain points this partnership aims to solve, our joint value proposition. Aiera is going to take us through a live demo of the platform, and we'll run a short focused Q&A, time permitting, before we wrap things up. So over the course of the session, please do feel free to submit questions via the chat function. They will be anonymous, so don't be shy, and we'll get to those at the end, as I said, time permitting. Gavin, Brian, I'll hand over to you guys for quick introductions, but perhaps you can just start with a little bit about your background, touch on how the partnership started, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So Gavin Skinner, Chairman and Chief Operating Officer here at Aiera. I've been with the company for about 18 months. Prior to that, I spent 35 years on the sell side, all in research. Started out as an equity research analyst in Australia, moved to Canada with Deutsche Bank, and then down to New York, where I've been for the last 25 years. My most recent sell side incarnation was with Citi, where I was the research chief operating officer there. So that's my background. I'll hand over to Brian.
Cool. Thanks, Gavin. Brian Healy, co-founder and CTO here at Aiera. I'm mostly an industry guy. Prior to this, I was at a series of startups in the Boston area. Most recently, it was also at one of the first members of the Alexa team at Amazon for a couple of years, and then the AI director at Lola Travel in Boston. And started Aiera with Ken Senna about close to 8 years now. And excited to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. I guess to sort of tee up the conversation, I guess there's really no shortage of compute now, and the speed with which obviously the frontier models, the LLMs are iterating is pretty staggering. There's the new model, it seems, every week or multiple every week. And this again sounds a little bit like self-dealing in the context of this webinar, but our clients have come to us with a need for for trust and for compliance, and if anything, that's more important than it's ever been. So if you're going to use these tools, and our clients want to use these tools, that's a genie that's certainly not going back into the bottle. But you do need accuracy, you do need compliance. You simply can't use these sort of off-the-shelf models for the type of use cases that we're talking about. And if you go sort of back to earlier in the year, or maybe it was even the year before, I can't remember now, but we joined the consortium because we bought into the issues that you guys were solving for, and namely that was, how do we get the most authoritative, trusted insights into these models and workflows in a way that's responsive to the individual client's need, but it's also kind of ironclad when it comes to protecting the IP of the different content providers. And Third Bridge and some of the best brokers on the street, we're providing content and context, and really errors coming through with a smarter, more unified research stack. And I guess as far as framing the conversations go, I'll stop there. But Gavin, Brian, I know you guys have stuff to demo and to present, so I'll let you guys take it away.
Right, that's a good segue actually into how we came about as an industry consortium and what we're focused on. So what I'll do today, I've just got sort of 4 slides to run through to discuss exactly what Dan just mentioned, and then I'll hand over to Brian to do a quick demo of both our existing products and some of our new features that we've been building out. So as Dan mentioned, we've had this problem in the industry for a while now, where there's just been this increased demand for sell-side research content in particular, or access to content providers, literature and information for the purposes of building, training, fine-tuning language model and generative AI products. There's obviously a lot of concerns from those content owners in terms of what controls or processes are put in around, and compliance controls are put around access to that content, who is using it, what foundational models will be ingesting information, how will things be ring fenced and protected. Intellectual property protection is a very big requirement for any content owner. Entitlement structures, data protection standards all need to be put in place. IP protections are required for those who are actually using prompt tools as well. So we've got a buy-side advisory council, which I'll mention to you in a couple of slides, who those people are and what they're helping us out with in terms of putting protections on the buy side. And then things like content attribution, consumption metrics all need to be implemented as well, not just for old school reading of research content, but for pinging of information, for summarizing of information, as well as full reads. So all these industry problems that have been out there for a while have yet to be solved for, and that's why this consortium came together, where we have 10 of the world's largest investment banks, and Third Bridge has joined us and a couple of other partners as well to help build these solutions for the industry as a collective. We've taken on board historical content feeds from all of our partners. We've sanitized all of that research product, removing all proprietary information that does not belong to the content owners, whether it be market data, charts, tables, whether it be other personally identifying information that needs to be stripped out before we do any sort of language model training or fine-tuning or setting up standards, which we're calling now our language model enrichment services, and provide them as a solution to the industry. We are a consortium where we'll build and test and deploy various technical solutions to everyone across the financial services vertical. We're not competing with other aggregators. We'll happily provide our solutions to them as well. We'll provide our solutions to the buy side. We'll provide our solutions to the sell side. If you take a look at why did we choose to go with Aiera? Aiera's been around, as Brian mentioned, for quite some time. They're an established company with a number of existing buy-side and sell-side clients. I knew them working at Citi, and we have the Aiera platform deployed across the analyst desktops. It's a fantastic productivity tool, and it focuses mainly on live event monitoring, whether it be earnings calls, whether it be industry events, conferences, or a lot across the government and regulatory bodies as well when announcements are made. Tracking about 50,000 events annually, covering about 14,000 companies. And associated with all those events, we collect all of the filings and event documents and collateral that goes along with those events. The information is transcribed, real-time voice-to-text services. And then also we follow up with human-edited versions of those transcripts as well. The company has a good, robust technology infrastructure. They've been in the AI space for a while. Aiera is an acronym, stands for Artificially Intelligent Equity Research Analysis. Probably a little bit ahead of its time back in 2017. But as such, they've got a great technology team headed by Brian Healy. Great industry depth and experience across everything from machine learning, advanced math, full stack technology deployment, and everything on the data engineering side. We provide software services. We're not affiliated with any research industry aggregator. And that's why we decided to join with Aiera, recapitalize the company, put a new board in place, which is now governed by predominantly the sell-side investment banks, and drive the new product strategy going forward. That product strategy going forward is going to focus on 4 key items, and I think Brian can speak to this in quite detail. But I'll have him come back to the first item, which is a specialized language model enrichment services. We'll provide access to AI-ready content via our API and MCP infrastructure. We've just announced our partnership with Claude, and Brian will give a quick demo of that. Most importantly, we provide access to information on a componentized basis. You don't necessarily have to come to our dashboards or mobile solutions. If you need a component that needs to be plugged into an existing tool, or a tool that you're looking to stand up yourself to ingest content, all of that is available on a componentized basis on our side. Brian, do you just want to speak to the language model enrichment services that we're providing and we're looking
Yeah,
to stand up?
yeah, absolutely. So the best way I can describe it is, to serve up any language modeling solution, whether that be chat or whether that be programmatic workflows, there's obviously a suite of tools that will sort of go under the hood to sort of support various workflows. Amongst those include things like custom embeddings that will generate off of our historical research content. It includes custom search endpoints that are tailor built for types of content that we've ingested. It'll include things like intent classifiers and output classifiers for safety protocols, as well as like grammar templates. And so this suite of services that we're going to use to backstop our MCP server, as well as support our own chat initiatives, we can make those individual services available for more tech-forward clients that want to do some of this or chunks of this in-house, but it makes sense to take on bits of it with a provider like ourselves. So like rather than having to build your own embeddings, you can use our embeddings model so to support your own search infrastructure. Or if you don't want to have to create a custom search interface, you can consume our search endpoints in and of themselves, just to make that workload easier, make it more custom built for the finance vertical, and better support what you're building.
Brian will give a quick demo of our new Claude partnership in a minute. The last slide I'll bring up here is just who we are as an organization now, and from a governance perspective, our board is made up of a number of Wall Street's largest investment banks, along with partners like Third Bridge, obviously as a critical research provider. We have all their historical content on board as well. And then we have non-board partners joining us. Dow Jones and Microsoft is our key technology partner. This council, this Research Advisory Council, really governs and drives everything that we're building. We're leveraging all of these partners' historical content, and with their permission to build and test all of these tools that we just spoke about. Combining all of this content set across the street on a page count basis, this represents about 60% of all research which is written in the industry today. If you look at it on total page count by volume from the sell side. That is an enormous repository of information with permission from those owners, where we're actually building those tools out. We're putting those tools back into the hands of the research professionals whose content we are leveraging, and that will create what we call a crowd testing type of solution, where everything will be built by, tested by, and basically validated by the content owners themselves before our products go to market. So it provides an enormous leg up for us in terms of accountability, compliance, and standards that we want to set around control. And most importantly, we have a dozen of the world's largest long-only and hedge fund clients that have agreed to come together as part of our buy-side advisory council and work with us to ensure that we've got the right standards in place in terms of products that need to be built. The buy side is very big on compliance and controls as well, ensuring that not only the content owner's intellectual property is protected, but also that they've got proper controls and protections on their side as well. Whether that is things that we do around rendering and link back strategies, citation sequencing methodologies, consumption metrics, and ensuring that all readership measures are controlled via established bilateral embargo standards that are out there. So our Research Advisory Council meets on a monthly basis. It's a subset, it's a subgroup of our board, and our buy-side advisory council gets together on a quarterly basis. And with that, I'll stop there and I'll hand it over to Brian to do a quick demo of our platform.
Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. Let me share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Excellent. Cool. So what I want to highlight right here is sort of our existing products. So this is sort of what, as Gavin was described today, our platform is primarily focused on events and transcripts, of which obviously Third Bridge is now an important integration there. So when you first log into our platform, the first thing you would see today is sort of a general experience of all the events that we have available on the platform. Sorted and filtered by what's live now, what's coming up soon, anything interesting happening, and any of these events can be dove into to follow along. So you can see we have a series of live events happening at the moment. I can jump into those live events and I can follow along as they're unfolding. I can see the transcript streaming in word by word. I can jump into the audio and listen as it's going along. I can interact with the audio, seek back to the beginning, or search through the audio, find specific information that I'm relevant, I care about in my workflow. All designed to make that process of like following along these live events and performing my research process as fast and as seamless as possible. It's less about being on the phone for an event. If I miss something, it's gone, or I'll get it in the post to live transcript. Everything's designed to flow simply. We've also built tools in our platform to make it easy to sort of manage multiple events. We sort of definitely service the crowd that cares a lot about earnings season and conference season when there's a lot of things going on concurrently. And so, for instance, we have a tool called Aiera, which allows you to sort of stream multiple events side by side and follow along, seamlessly. So I can just wait for anything in my coverage universe to happen, anything get referenced that I care about, any key change in the transcript or any other, key change in their price reaction or other information. But just as importantly, I want to highlight, the recent Third Bridge integration we've added to this. Third Bridge is obviously a key facet of transcript intelligence, but not publicly available. This is the data, that is highly specialized, and so we've built those same transcripts into our experience in obviously an entitled basis, so that if you have access to this content, you can search and discover it and highlight it in the same ways you can with all of our live events and our post-live events. So, for example, I can jump into a Third Bridge transcript for, say, Adobe that was recently held. I can see the transcript here in this experience. I can create tags and highlights just like you can for our existing events. We also do enrichments on this data to sort of help your process. So like we do things like summarize the data. You can see an AI generated summary of it. We'll pull out topics and other facets that are relevant to the event. Again, all just designed to make it easier for you to perform that research process, dig into the data, find the information that you really care about, and see it all side by side. This also plugs into all of our search utilities, so I can search across the entire corpus of data and sort of look for information I care about. I can either do it by company or just by general term and topic. And then, as I wanted to highlight, the cooler thing about this is it will be plugging into our more advanced AI workflows, including our MCP server. So, for instance, we just recently announced an integration with Claude for Finance. And so right in Claude, I can now query that data, again, on an entitled basis and get information and insights against the Third Bridge content. So let's say I want to ask something like, so you can ask broad scale questions like that. And with our MCP server and API plugged into the Claude experience, it knows how to go and find those Third Bridge events for this individual user who's already been individually authed, in this case myself. It knows how to go and find insights across those events and source the pieces that would be relevant for answering the question, and sort of get those AI generated experiences. So, for instance, it just queried across all the content, found there's 4 Third Bridge events in just the last 3 months related to Nike, coverage. It'll go and tease out insights for those events and then answer my question. Basically, the entire universe of data is available here. You can ask questions broad scale against all of it. This is sort of a very high level question where ACID is just giving all the takeaways, so it's going to consume the entire event, but everything is indexed individually, so you can even ask more simplistic questions, or I should say, more lower level questions like tell me all the mentions of guidance or all the times that new products were announced or referenced over time. Everything that it generates always gets sourced. So like I can click here and see right in the experience exactly where that was in the transcript. To give you a quick highlight, and sort of brings you right into the experience, right to the segment that it was referencing. And it does that all throughout the generated answer. So you can always gut check the model's generations. You can always make sure that it's working with the right data. Cool. So that's sort of a high level demo, both the existing platform as well as some of our new integrations. Bits of this are going to continue to expand over the weeks and months ahead, as Gavin alluded to, and we're excited to see where we go from here.
Thanks, guys. Couple of questions that came beforehand. Have a couple in the sidebar as well.
Cool.
I can't remember, Gavin, Brian, whether the first one was for you, but I'll run the question back anyway. So with the rapid pace of AI change, making it clear that, or making defining a clear roadmap challenging, we can attest to that. When a firm is moving beyond experimentation, what is the single most important factor, be it data preparation, infrastructure, expertise, that you would advise them to prioritize first in order to ensure kind of a scalable AI solution?
Probably the single most important is infrastructure. One of the inevitable pieces you're going to run into, as we did, as we all do, is the pace of innovation is incredibly rapid, as we've already experienced multiple times over this I'd say 3-year hype cycle since ChatGPT first sort of changed the world a little bit. And so you need to be able to both experiment rapidly and sort of make discoveries as quickly as you can, but almost as importantly, be able to deploy those prototypes to customers also as rapidly. And having the right infrastructure in place that makes it easy to perform those kinds of experiments at scale, public facing, I think is key to success. So that as the tech continues to evolve and you're experimenting with new underlying models or new underlying workflows, you don't get stuck into the endless life cycle of POC that doesn't go to production. New POC doesn't go to production. You want to make sure you're getting experiences in front of customers.
Makes sense. And maybe from your perspective, Brian, one of the things that we hear often is that, there are a lot of tools out there and a lot of people reaching out to clients and a lot of POCs happening. But when you are trying to drive adoption of these tools, oftentimes it's, the uptake is the issue, getting users to sort of go into
Yeah.
the platform and kind of try things out and actually for it to become baked into someone's workflow. I'm curious how you guys are thinking about that issue at Aiera and what guidance you would maybe provide for people who are running these kind of POCs at the firm level.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, it sort of speaks a little bit to just the general ethos that Aira's had kind of since our inception. Is it's you don't want to battle your customers' workflows. You want to live where they live. Like everyone has their own experiences, their own workflows that they've already sort of built into their day to day. And it's difficult to get people to shift away from things they're already used to. So, like an example actually is this new world of MCP that we're sort of deploying into that Third Bridge content's available in. A part of the ethos of using that is, we do have our own internal chat service, which we're proud of and we're going to continue to promote. But we know that there are plenty of clients out there that already have developed workflows in either ChatGPT Enterprise or Claude for Finance, and it would be difficult to shift them away from those. And so we can be in both places. We can deploy custom connectors in both experiences and live where they live. As referenced earlier, similar philosophy with our components, which are these sort of JavaScript plugins that make it easy to take bits of the platform I just demoed and drop it into internal systems. So like if you have your own internal software and you have pages for rendering individual company information, you can put our transcripts right there in that experience. So rather than forcing our clients to sort of shift to our dashboard, if they already have an experience they're used to, we want to be there as well. And so I think working alongside your clients and making sure that you're supporting their needs rather than sort of trying to force them into something you've already built is, I think, the easiest way to get success with these kind of new developments and POCs.
Makes sense. And when you're talking about, I guess, delivering raw data, how do you think about the additional kind of embeddings, metadata, or enrichment that you kind of provide there, or potentially may be able to provide in future?
The best way I can describe it is, in this new world we're in, this very AI heavy focused world, data is definitely the key to success. I think with a lot of experiences, but it's not just the raw data. It's also being able to pass down all of the different facets that make the experience more seamless. And so, in addition to just having access to the data in API, you also want to make that data easily searchable. So being able to, for instance, have custom embeddings that support a custom search workflow that make that search more robust. It's going to find more nuanced relationships between the data and be able to answer questions that maybe are a little bit more general, but actually get the accurate, insights you want. Is going to be key, as well as being able to sort of tease apart some, for instance, token saving features. Like maybe rather than passing back a full document, you'll pass back a compressed version of it or a summarized version of it to make it easier to sort of answer broad scale questions around them. Examples like that. So as you're doing this sort of raw data delivery, you want to think about the consumer of that data. How, if it's a model at the end of the line consuming that data, token management is going to be key. You don't want to make sure you don't want to be overwhelming the session size of a prompt with just context. Same thing with discovery is going to be key, especially if the model is the one selecting search terms. You want to make sure that the dynamicism you need there is going to support that. So, yeah, it's not just the data itself; it's the transforms on the data and making sure that it's in the right shape for this kind of world.
If you were to discuss one feature or capability coming soon from you guys, perhaps leveraging sort of new capabilities, what would you emphasize?
Let's see. Is the question more specifically around sort of a new advancement, or specific to Aiera's sort of like product development?
Yes, it was just some of the roadmap items that Gavin touched on earlier. I mean, would you call any of that, or which would you call out there as being potentially the most impactful, or one that you're most excited about?
It's relatively. I mean, I would say probably entitlements. Actually, if you think you agree with that, Gavin, it's a technical problem. I feel like the industry has had, as far as I understand it, for quite literally decades at this point, and being able to pull this consortium together to sort of solve that problem as a unit, I think is going to be really impactful to the space.
Especially as the content is going to be served up by many different delivery points, right? So we've done a partnership with Claude right now to make all of the research content accessible in an AI ready format by those tools, but we're going to do it via other channels as well, right? Obviously, Microsoft's a key partner for us, and we'll be serving up access to the content via their platforms as well. The fact that we offer different types of solutions depending upon what the client's different AI strategies are that they're adopting internally puts us in a unique position. We're not a bundled model. You don't have to come to our desktop or mobile app. You don't have to use a specific model to get access to the content. The way that we're the infrastructure stack on an entitled basis and a compliant access manner via all those different endpoints is what I would say what we're most excited about delivering as optionality for customers, depending upon how they want to get access to content and what they want to do with it internally.
And I guess sort of to tee it up, then a question from the audience. Of all of your product offerings, which one has generated the strongest interest from clients? Perhaps it probably is some of the delivery capabilities you just touched on.
Yeah, it's got to be the new launch with Claude, right, Brian?
Yeah, I would say so. And in terms of velocity of engagement and velocity of adoption, it's been, I think, the highest we've seen so far. I imagine our delivery of research will eclipse it when the time comes in early next year. But yeah, so far that's definitely it's definitely been a game changer.
Makes a ton of sense. I think we're very much aligned with Aiera in terms of how we see the market as well. It's been a big focus of ours, making the content that folks subscribe to as accessible as possible. We don't believe forcing people through a single platform is the most effective way to go when clients are more often than not the experts in their own workflows, and
Mm.
tell us what kind of works for them. So Aiera has been great in helping us get our content out to market, and we really appreciate the partnership. I'm looking at the clock. We're pretty much wrapped. There's a couple more questions in the sidebar, but we'll follow up, I think, with those directly. But Brian, Gavin, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for hopping on. And if anybody who is in the audience would like to speak with anybody there, please do let us know. We'd be more than happy to make those introductions. Yeah, guys, thanks again. And to
Thank
the
you.
Thanks for your time.